In this lesson, I'm going to start off by creating a Google Sheet with some dummy data that we're not going to be using in the next lessons, but it'll give you a basic understanding of how Google Data Studio handles data. So we've started off in our Google Sheets, and the first step that I did was I just went up to the top here and I renamed the sheet so that we can easily find it through all of our sheets later on. And I'm going to paste some dummy data. So this is just a store's sales statistics for apples, oranges, and peaches over the course of the last months. So we're going to use this data and create an active connection to this Google Sheet and use it as our data source in Google Data Studio. Okay, so let's see how we're going to do that. So let's navigate to Data Studio and create a new document. Now, it might not be available here yet for you, so just navigate directly to Data Studio. There. So obviously, as this is a Google tool, you need to provide your own Google credentials or create a Google account if you don't have one already. And once you've logged in, you'll be presented with a screen that should look like this. So the screen is pretty easy to navigate. You see at the top here that we have 3 different options that we can use. So reports, data sources, and Explorer. So we don't have any existing reports in here. So obviously we haven't created any yet. So we have nothing listed at the moment, but later on we'll have a list here. We also have different sources that we can use. Right now it's empty. And then you have another product called Explorer. We won't be looking at Explorer in the scope of this course, but keep in mind that it's just a way of being able to look at visualizations, create filters, and explore around your data. So those are the 3 different options that we've got. If you want to create a new report, let's head back to reports and click on a new blank report. You also have a template gallery that you can use. So after this video, I encourage you to navigate around and open up some templates maybe and look at some reports to see some examples of different types of things that you can build. So just enter whatever Google is asking you. Canada, I agree. Continue. So no, I don't want to receive any emails. If you want to receive them, that's totally fine. You can click on yes. Right, so now I'm able to create a blank report. So we're now in the blank report, and Google Data Studio is asking me to add data to it. So it's showing me a list of all the data sources that I can connect to. So you see that we've got Google Analytics, Google Ads, and then Google Sheet, which we're going to be using just now. You can also upload files or use BigQuery. Then you also have a number of partner connectors. If you scroll down, so with these partner connectors, they give you the ability to be able to access data sources. We'll actually be using Smartrek API connector, which is a partner connector that isn't listed in here yet, but that's okay. As long as we have the link to it, we can still use it. But to start with, what we're going to do is we're going to use Google Sheet as our option. So I'm going to click on Google Sheet, and it's going to show me a list of Google Sheets that I've been working with and that I've got access to. Right now, I only have one. So click on my Google Data Studio sheet, and sheet 1 is okay. It's also I have the option of saying whether I want to use my first row as headers. So depending on how your data is constructed, you might want to enable this option or not. In our case, we did provide a header row, remember? So I'm going to leave it as it is. And I'm going to click on Connect. Actually, it's Add. Then click on Add to Report. And so now I've technically successfully created a connection through to my Google Sheet. So once you've created a connection to the Google Sheet, it will read the data, and in particular, what it will do is read those headers. So those headers here. So it's now got the name of those fields that we set up in the Google Sheet. You can see them here: apples, date, oranges, peach. So let's quickly try to reproduce the table that we had in Google Sheet in Google Data Studio. Not very useful, but we're just going to play around a bit. So I can see here that I've got all the names of my fields here. So you can actually change the name of these fields very easy. You can simply, for example, I could change date here, and I can call it my date. Also, you can notice that there's a part here where you can change the type of data. So here, if I click here, it was a date, but I could have changed, well, actually not this time around, but for some kind of data, you can change it to number, percent, text, and so on. So there are many types of data. You have geographic data, numbers, date, data types. So if we look at numbers, we're going to see a default method of aggregation. So for example, record count is a number. See, it's a number here, and I have a default method of aggregation. I can drag apples into the metrics here. I don't really need the record count. So apples is a number also, and my default aggregation here is sum. So I can change it here. Can also change that to average or count. For now, let's leave it as it is, so sum. So those are the fields available to us, but throughout the course, I'll be showing you how to create new fields and add those fields into this data set. So let's add in the other columns. So oranges and peaches. And I think that's pretty much it. That was the table that we had in Google Sheet. So we're essentially done. So we've got the default looking Google Data Studio look here. And let's close this file as we won't be needing it anymore. So in the next video, we're going to learn how to add a new data source, but this time connecting from Smartrek API connector.